This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hi there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, March the 16th, 2018, the greatest NCAA March Madness upset in men's tournament history happened. It was a game at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was the number one seed in the South Regional and the number one overall seed in the NCAA tournament. Virginia Cavaliers trying to get their first NCAA tournament in history. They're trying to get their first title ever. Their first opponent were the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, the UMBC Retrievers. The winner would face Kansas State in the second round. So anyway, this was huge. Now, after the 60-14 format was made in 1985, and of course, nowadays with the 4 play-in games, UMBC were in for it. No, number 16 seeds never won a thing. The closest the 16 seed got was Princeton against Georgetown in 1989, only losing by a pair. Now, UMBC actually had a tough time getting to this thing. All that. People said that UMBC would be third in the America East, and they finished 24-10 in second place in the America East. The real. So UMBC would take on Furman in the American East tournament, but with 0.6 seconds, a shocking three-pointer by Darius Lyles, the tough senior guard, took down Furman and gave UMBC the automatic berth into the tournament, which was like, holy crow. They did it. In fact, this would be only the second year UMBC would be in the world title. I mean, in the NCAA stuff. They lost to Georgetown in 2008 in the first round, but this was the first time they would be back for 10 years. So, anyway, Virginia had entered the season unranked, but somehow won the ACC outright, easily crushing it. They were 17-1 in conference play. They won the ACC title game over North Carolina, and their regular season was 31-2. Now, Virginia looked like they were going to win the national title for the first time in school history. In the 1980s, they were pretty good. You know, Ralph Sampson and company. Virginia had a couple of runs in the Final Four, but did not win the title. In fact, Virginia was famously known in 1982 for losing a game against the Chaminade Silver Swords at a Hawaii tournament in December 1982. But anyway, yeah, Virginia looked pretty impressive and all that. Unfortunately, though, there was problems for Virginia. DeAndre Hunter, who would later go to the NBA, had a season-ending wrist fracture, which meant that Virginia was basically done for. So TNT would broadcast this game naturally to see Virginia and see how close UMBC could get there. Jim Nance, Bill Rafferty, and Grant Hill were on the call. All that. So the game saw over 3.5 million viewers. Watch this game. I mean, it is number one. Virginia was favored by 20 points. I forgot you could like things. So anyway, it started out well defensively, with the teams just battling tooth and nail with each other. Virginia went on a tear and all that. And it was 21-21 at the half. That's how good the defenses were. So coming out of halftime, it looked like Virginia was going to have troubles with UMBC, but people did not see how bad the second half was. The Retrievers went on a 7-2 run before Virginia used a timeout. Unfortunately, the Retrievers went on another run and had an 11-point lead. Virginia would be forced to call timeout after UMBC had a run of 10-4. So Virginia went on a little bit of a run, down to 12 points before UMBC called timeout. But both teams would try a stall move. UMBC had a run, and for some strange reason, UMBC played hard. Final score, 74-54. And a lot of people were probably thinking, oh, that's not bad. Virginia covered the spread. But then they'd be like, no. 74-54 UMBC. And you'd be thinking, what? That's not right. It was. The Retrievers of University of Maryland, Baltimore County won 74-54 against the #1 overall seed, much less the #1 seed in the South Regional, Virginia Cavaliers, on Friday, March 16, 2018 at 9:45 p.m. I think I saw that game before I went to bed, but I'm like, what the hell? The #1 seeds never lose these things, especially to a 16 seed. So the UMBC used some players. Daniel Akin, Max Curran, Nolan Garrity, KJ Mora, Joe Shelburne, Julian Grant, Jarius Lyles, and Arkel Lamar were your heroes and all of that, playing all so much. 28 points by Lyles. He was named player of the game, obviously. Virginia had Jack Salt, Isaiah Wilkins, Mamade Diake, Nigel Johnson, Ty Jerome, Devin Hall, and Kyle Guy. They only used 7 players the whole game. They lost one player. Yeah, they lost one player due to injury, DeAndre Hunter, which was 8. I don't know why Virginia didn't play more than 7 guys. That was kind of weird. But anyway, Ty Jerome got 15 points, and so did Kyle Guy. Virginia remarked, that was not close. That's first a credit to the job Ryan did, Coach Odom. Their offense was very hard to guide. They shot it well. We kept getting broken down and did a poor job. We had a hard time with their mobile force and their 4 guards. I don't know what to say, but that was a butt whipping. This is life. It can't define you. You enjoy the good times, and you got to be able to take the bad times. When you step into the arena, the consequences can be historic losses, tough losses, great wins, and you have to deal with it. And that's the job. So the coach did his job. And if memory serves me right, Bennett, wasn't he the coach when Wisconsin Green Bay shocked the world and got to the Sweet 16 in '94? Gotta remember that. But yeah, it was actually featured in a magazine in Emotional Intelligence and Leadership. But Coach Odom for UMBC said, unbelievable. It's really all you could say. So anyway, UMBC would face Kansas State. Kansas State did survive by 7 points over UMBC. But here's the thing, though, too. The South Regional, it was just unbelievable. None of the top 4 seeds got to the Sweet 16. #1 Virginia and #4 Arizona both lost their opening game. And then #2 Cincy and #3 Tennessee both lost in the second round. That means that the 4 teams that got out of the South Regional to get to the Sweet 16 were not top 4 seeds. The region actually was won by Loyola Chicago, who did beat Kansas State. So Kansas State did beat UMBC and then went on to the conference, to the quarterfinals, losing to Loyola Chicago, the Loyola Chicago Ramblers, who are known for having Sister Jean around, the 100-year-old Christian sister who was inspirational and all that. So Loyola Chicago became the 4th 11th seed to get to the Final Four, which was amazing. In fact, 2 members of the UMBC squad actually were head coaches. Eric Skeeter's assistant coach took over Delaware State, and a director of recruiting took over Longwood. And they actually met in 2019 with Longwood winning by 16. Anyway, it was just shocking and all that. Well, Virginia kind of got redemption in 2019. They got a #1 seed and actually trailed Gardner-Webb, who were 16th seed, at the half by 6 points. But Virginia learned from their mistakes and didn't fuck up the second half like they did this game against UMBC. Virginia won the title, becoming the first maiden tournament winner. Well, that was their first tournament ever. The first time a school won its maiden title since Florida in 2006. So, yeah, UMBC would lose to Furman and couldn't get back to the tourney and all that. So it was just unbelievable. Everyone said Virginia's 2019 title was the greatest redemption in the history of sports. Yeah, fucking right. Yeah, right. Sorry, but that's how I feel. DeAndre Hunter was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks. Ty Jerome plays for Golden State, and Kyle Guy is now in Europe playing basketball. But yeah, so Virginia got this greatest redemption story in the history of sports. My ass. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. But yeah, Virginia won the title the next year. So yeah, it was a good story. The greatest ever? No. But that's just how I feel. Anyway, I'm Jeff. I'm going to do.